How's it going, comic book fans? Welcome back to another Minute-ish review where we take a look at the new releases in the comic book industry and evaluate whether you should give them your time and money. After the absolute offense to the nature of comic books that was Faith Returns #1, we can only go up from here, right? Well, it doesn't look too good. If Faith #1 was the worst comic I've read all year, the book we're reviewing today is the most cringy. Welcome to the most punk Mambo comic ever published in punk Mambo history, Punk Mambo the Punk Witch Project. Have you cringed yet? Let's get this over with. Alright guys, let's examine the quality of the narrative of Punk Mambo the Punk Witch Project. On writing duties for this oversized one-shot is yet again Peter Milligan, who recently gave us the interestingly structured narrative of Britannia, the Great Fire of Rome. I enjoyed the way the multiple levels of storytelling weave together to create a wholly cohesive narrative. In fact, I would say the most cohesive narrative that Valiant has released thus far after their partnership with Alien Books is Britannia, the Great Fire of Rome. Unfortunately, for this book, that is simply not the case. I think everyone at Valiant and Alien Books at this point is suffering from FDS, Faith Derangement Syndrome. And shockingly, it is spread to Peter Milligan too. Blast you, Faith Herbert. Oh... So our story briefly opens with Punk Mambo herself in London fighting demon dogs that smell like aftershave. I'm not kidding about that one. Before we travel back 2 days to the bayou where she lives. For those not familiar with Punk Mambo, she is a voodoo mambo or priestess who was first introduced in Shadow Man #13. Her initial appearance was interesting, and she assisted Shadow Man, Ninja K, and others in traveling in and out of the dead side. She was a great supporting character who was well liked. However, just like other decisions Valiant has made recently, for some reason they've elevated her to a core character in the Valiant universe and have given her her own series when she's not compelling enough as a singular character. None of those other series featuring Punk Mambo have been really interesting anyways. And you know, now that I'm discussing this, I think I'm seeing a trend here. Valiant must be taking the MCU approach to storytelling. The Valiants are led almost completely by female characters, then Faith releases, and now Punk Mambo gets her own one-shot. So it looks like Valiant is messing up on two different levels with this. First of all, they're pushing their female characters, but doing it badly, further ruining their reputations. And they're sidelining their predominantly male characters, their most popular heroes, to spotlight those female characters. Valiant, it didn't work for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What makes you think it's going to work for yours? Oh. Anyways, let's get back to this cringy mess. So in a flashback, Punk, or is it Mambo, or do I have to say Punk Mambo every time I mention her? I really don't know. I've used punk so many times already in this review, it's getting really annoying. So I'm just going to use punk. Punk hears some punk music and thinks it's summoning her to London. So now we're back fighting the Old Spice dogs. All of a sudden they disappear and some smarmy warlock shows up to lecture Punk Mambo about shadow hounds or something. And it just so happens this guy's name, John Warlock. Really? John Warlock? Are you cringing yet? He then offers his magical services to her, but Punk Mambo proceeds to kick him in his nether region and stomp off in angsty fashion, because Punk Mambo will never accept help from a man. Oh geez, this is bad. Then we get this amazing example of comic writing here. The whole reason I reinvented myself as a voodoo priestess is to not be pushed around. That's why I became a punk. Oh, this is just so lame. Okay. At this point, I'm convinced a 13-year-old emo kid who's a big My Chemical Romance fan wrote this comic. She then decides she does want his help and wants to learn his magical ways. Shocker. But, and I'm not making this up, she wants to learn it the punk way. So she completes her training, and now it's time to take on the most punk demon-worshipping punk rock band in the London sewers. They attack her with literal music, which I am sure is Green Day level terrible, and they conjure a bunch of demons using their awful punk music. Then Punk Mambo argues with her lowest spirit, who just happens to show up during this battle, about helping her finish off these demons, and of course, they win. Thank God this story is finished. Let me just say, I have never read a comic story in my entire life that has tried harder to be next level edgy and failed so miserably at doing so. Valiant, please listen to me here. Why do you keep doing this? Valiant, I want to be on your side. I love these characters. But with every new release, you make it harder and harder to continue being a fan. Are you just greenlighting anything nowadays? If anybody is watching this video and has Dinesh Shamdasani's number, can you forward it to Valiant and Alien Books, please? Maybe he can help them figure this out. You guys don't know how much I wish for the quality of those stories from 2012 to 2017. Punk Mambo, the Punk Witch Project is definitely the cringiest comic I have ever read. In fact, this comic uses the word punk over 50 times throughout its 56 pages. I really just want this review to end right here, but we do need to take a look at the visuals of Punk Mambo, the Punk Witch Project. Are the visuals punk enough? Ugh. On art duties for this issue are Andres Ponce, and the team of Ponce and Novi are handling colors. Now, before I even get into the visuals of this issue, you're probably wondering, hey, are you going to just bash them again here? Well, I'm here to tell you that the visuals are the strongest aspect of this book. Unlike Faith Returns and Livewire and the Secret Weapons, the talent on display in these pages is pretty decent. Ponce seems to know what he's doing here, rendering characters, locations, and panels pretty consistently. Now, the art is certainly not perfect, and I'm not a fan of American comics incorporating manga-style visuals into their books, but the art is still visually interesting. There are a few instances where faces seem a bit off, and you can tell that the artist was tired of drawing hands in some scenes, because all the characters have their hands in their pockets. Other scenes that stand out are ones featuring Punk Mambo's Loa, as the artist has just made the voodoo spirit look pretty laughable in the cringiest way possible. The color work seems to fare pretty well also, with colors popping off the page and characters being rendered nicely overall. However, I will say that there are some panels that have a certain look about them that is off-putting that only older gamers will understand. Back when the PS1 first came out, there was a boom in full-motion video style games. The low number of colors that are supported by FMV made the video and early games on PS1 and PC look pretty horrendous. Now, I don't know why the colorist would do this, but many panels take on that same horrendous style. If it's on purpose, I'm not a fan at all. I want to read and see a skillfully colored comic, not a beginner's level example of rendering characters. Additionally, there are a few instances where actual photos of punks punk rocking were used in this book, and they felt completely out of place. Lastly, and per usual, the partnership with Alien Books continues to pay off, as the cover is thick cardstock and the pages are thick and glossy with a premium feeling. I guess this is the one thing they're actually consistently getting right with their releases. However, the fact that I am discussing these types of issues brings to light a trend with Valiant and Alien Books at the moment. I know they are trying to bring the Valiant universe back together, and put together creative teams that can consistently deliver content. But the risk of hiring new, unproven talent, in my opinion, has overwhelmingly been a negative experience so far. In fact, I would say that reaching out to at least a few established artists and/or writers would benefit them overwhelmingly in the future. I'm all for trying new things, but this isn't cutting it at all, and you're doing your fans a disservice. Okay, to sum up my thoughts on Punk Mambo, the Punk Witch project, let's review the story and the art. The pros of this release are definitely the visuals. The art is decent, and the colors pop off the page. Also, the trade dress is great yet again. However, the cons are numerous here, and they really ruin the entire experience. In a move to try to make the comic as edgy as possible, Valiant and Alien Books made it completely off-putting. The story plays out like it was written by a 13-year-old emo kid with daddy issues. He uses the word punk 50 plus times. The characters are absolutely lame, and yet again the narrative beats fall flat because of the cringy and annoyingly edgy dialogue and narration. Ultimately, there is one scene that sums up what's happening at Valiant and within this issue perfectly. In one scene, Punk Mambo discusses the origins of punk music, and she says, "That's what the real musicians said about punk. You need years to learn your instruments. Punks picked up their guitars and were playing 2 days later." Well, if the people at Valiant really want to be the punks of the comic industry, that's fine, but they will be left behind by the true greats who practice their craft, become master storytellers and master artists, and leave indelible marks on the comic industry as a whole. As a Valiant fan, I wish better for this company, but Punk Mambo, the Punk Witch project, is just another letdown. Oh, well, that about wraps up my most punk comic book review ever in Punk Mambo history. You know, I can't believe that Valiant and Alien Books are continuing this awful trend of releasing complete garbage. At least this week we get Exo Manowar Invictus. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment to let me know what you think about the current state of Valiant Comics and Alien Books. See you next time.